Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey friends, welcome back to the Collide Kids Podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark, and I am so glad you're here. The Collide Kids Podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. Now, before we jump in, if you're a parent listening and you could use a little bit of encouragement during your busy week, be sure to check out my other podcast, 7-Minute Devotions for Busy Parents. Those are short, twice-a-week devotionals. They're designed to give you just a quick boost of truth and hope right where you are. So definitely subscribe and find those wherever you get your podcast. Okay, let's talk about today's episode. I know it might seem a little early to start thinking about Christmas, especially if you're like my husband who believes that Christmas decorations should never go up before Thanksgiving. Meanwhile, I'm over here thinking once the fireworks from 4th of July are done, maybe it's time to get the Christmas tree out. That's how I view things. But here's the thing. It's actually not too early to start planning for Advent. And if you are wondering what exactly is Advent or how can my family make that season more meaningful, well, let me just tell you, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking all about that. My guests are Tim Penner and Joe Rivard. They're two friends who've been creating amazing faith-filled content for kids for over 15 years. Together, they're the creative minds behind Tiny Truths, a brand that makes fun and engaging books and resources to help kids and their families live out the way God made them to live. They've published several books with Zonder Kids, including an illustrated Bible, and recently partnered with CTA Kids to create real-life products for churches and families. It's amazing. I think you're going to walk away from this episode with some awesome ideas for how your family can reflect and celebrate the true meaning of the season together. So whether you're already humming Christmas carols or you're holding out until Thanksgiving, it's fine either way. This conversation is still for you. Here is my conversation with Tim Penner and Joe Rivard. Well, Tim and Joe, I am so happy to have you on the Collide Kids Podcast today.
Thanks so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great. We have a really good mutual friend named Kim Hudson. She's been on the show a couple times, and she was like, you need to meet Tim and Joe. So I'm really glad I'm getting to meet you because you come highly recommended.
Kim's the best, so we'll take that.
Would you guys just introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I'm Tim, half of Tim and Joe, half of Tiny Truths. I'm the illustrating and co-creating half of Tiny Truths. I studied animation for years. Now I illustrate and just basically make stuff with Joe.
Yeah, and I'm Joe. I'm the other half of Tiny Truths, and we've been working together for, 15 years maybe. And we've done lots of different creative projects along the way. Maybe we can get into that a little bit more. But I'm more of the writing side of the partnership. But we have a unique approach where we kind of build things from the ground up and work on everything together. And it's just the two of us. Tiny Truths is just two people doing what we do.
So you are the team.
We are the whole team.
We are the whole team.
Yeah. The whole team. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
We joke about the marketing department is looking into this and the art department's doing this. We'll send it to editorial, but it's always just us.
It's just us.
I love it. Now, will you explain what Tiny Truths is?
Well, we were making apps actually a long time ago, the two of us, with a different company that we launched. And one day we were making these storybook interactive apps for kids, which we loved. They were really fun, full of joy in life. We decided that we wanted to make something that had a similar tone, that was, full of laughter and joy, but that was Bible-based. And we started out by making interactive Bible story apps. This was a long time ago, back when the iPad was a very new thing. And then as things developed, we just decided that we really wanted to make an illustrated kids Bible. And so that was kind of the beginning of things. We were fortunate enough to approach Zonder Kids, and they were willing to make this with us. And it all started from there, really. So we make Bible-based books, products, resources for kids and families. And we just want them to be fun, to be engaging, and to help kids understand who they are and who God is and that they have a place in his amazing story.
I love that. That's so needed, right? It's, there's lots of things out there. So to have that based in biblical truth is so important for kids and for families. Well, good. Well, I am excited to talk with you and hear your story. But before we get into that, because this is a show for kids, I always ask my guests to tell me a joke. So what have you got for us?
Okay, I don't think it's one that's that new, but it's my favorite.
Okay.
The joke is, what do you call a fish with no eyes?
I like that one.
I'm sure everybody's heard it, but the way I came to hear it is something that I'm so happy every time I think of it.
We like a spelling joke too, because we like words. That's one of our things. And so,
okay.
A lot of kids-based jokes are puns. So we were looking for something that wasn't a pun. No offense to puns and wordplay.
That's good. I like it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Tiny Truths. I love that you shared that you were creating interactive apps for iPads and things like that. But before that, before all of that got started, how did you guys connect with each other? Or let's even go further back than that. Were you guys interested in drawing and writing as kids? Or is that something that you developed when you became older?
All I did with my free time was draw. I probably drew every day at some point. I was pretty active and I played a lot of sports and I did a lot of things, but I spent hours, days, weeks in my room. I had a desk, and from the time probably that I was 10, I took it very serious. It wasn't just a thing to kill time. I tried to learn how to do it from a very young age and spent a ton of time doing it.
Mm.
I've always been a book kid. I've always just loved books, loved stories. I read and read. As a kid, I was a really shy kid, and I just loved my books, and I loved writing things, all sorts of things, not just stories, but I loved writing letters. Remember those? And,
yes.
We love real books. We love holding books.
Holding it.
Still do. Yeah, I love surrounding myself with books. And even to this day, really believe in holding books and reading to my kids who are at the point where they roll their eyes, but I'm still persisting. And I think, I love having books scattered around the house. Could talk about that for days. So, I grew up writing stories and just writing. I just have always loved words. And I think what's funny about us is we grew up in very different parts of the world. Tim here in Canada, and I actually grew up in Nigeria as a missionary kid, and then later in the UK. God somehow brought us together across the ocean. It's so interesting to me how God brings you to different places and you meet people, and we have so much in common, but we grew up in such different worlds.
Yeah, we have a very similar sensibility, a very similar sense of humor. I think our tastes are aligned, but are just different enough. We aren't completely the same person. I think our strengths and our weaknesses really balance each other out well, but we're similar enough to sort of see the same thing at the end of whatever we're working towards and to be able to work towards it together. It's remarkable. Because I worked in animation for years, I've worked creatively, collaboratively my whole sort of professional life. And I've never had a creative partnership like this that just seems to work so well. There's so much joy in it and there's so much fun in it. But also we're doing this meaningful work. And I don't say that because what we create is so meaningful, but the themes and the ideas, we take it very, very, very seriously. And so even just to have a friend to work through that stuff through, to read, to share, to debate, discuss, and solve this stuff in the process of making these books, in simplifying the messages, there's so much joy in it. And it's been a really, really meaningful friendship, a really meaningful creative partnership.
Yeah, same. I think we're really fortunate. I think it's a unique setup that we have.
I love that you said we're very similar and yet we're very different in our strengths and the way that we complement each other. Because I think that's something we encourage our kids. Look for someone that's running next to you. Look for someone that's going in the same direction as you. They don't have to be exactly like you, but if they're focused on that same thing, that's going to be a really good friendship and a really good collaboration. If you're doing something for the Lord, that helps you if you have the same purpose. I'd love to know, what did you do before you started? Tim, you just said you were in animation for many years. So what was that transition like, going from doing animation to doing what you're doing now?
It's sort of funny because I've never sort of ended up doing the thing I thought I would end up doing, because I studied classically hand-drawn animation right as everything was going digital. So basically I learned to hand draw animate. and then went to get a job, and everything was basically going technology. Well, like the technology was getting better, and it was all going completely computer animated. So I was fortunate enough to find a studio that liked my drawings and liked my ideas enough to say, we'll teach you how to do this on a computer. If you come in, we're not going to pay you, but we'll teach you how to do this. So I kind of ended up getting free education, real world free education in a studio doing really, really high end work. So it was an incredible, without that break, I don't think that I'm here at all. I don't know how I would have found my way into the industry. And so it was a commercial studio doing mostly little characters on countertops. It was a lot of the Pillsbury Doughboy and Talking M&Ms and like those kids cereal. It was all that kind of stuff. So I did that for about 7 years. And then the job started to get less interesting. And I had sort of reached a point where I had learned everything that I was going to be able to learn there. I had sort of done everything I was able to do there. And I was getting restless, but I wasn't quite sure what the transition would be.
Yeah.
And then Jo was working on some kids' books independently. She was writing and working with an illustrator to make some kids' books. And I mean, how it all came to, there are so many factors and so many things that came together. But the short of it is we sort of looked at each other and we thought, there's this new technology that pairs animation with storybooks, with illustration, with kids' books. And I'd always wanted to make kids' books. And it just seemed like we had the perfect combination of skills to come together and make little funny, silly, animated kids' books with little simple animations and funny sound effects. And so then that was enough of a reason for me to quit. And we started doing that together.
We'll be right back after this. Wouldn't it be amazing if the media your kids watch could entertain and support their spiritual growth? With Minnow, it can. Minnow is the #1 source for Christian kids content. The Minnow streaming service is filled with high-quality shows that spark imagination and curiosity about God and the Bible. From adventure in young David to singing and scripture for little ones in God's greenhouse, and the hilarious new series, The Dead Sea Squirrels, from the co-creator of VeggieTales. Minnow even has the Laugh and Grow Bible for kids, with beloved Bible moments and support for tackling some curious questions, plus classics like VeggieTales, Bible Man, and more. And did I mention it's all ad-free? Visit gominnow.com to start your free trial and start watching today. So, Jo, what about you? Like, what were you doing before you got into this? Were you just writing lots of stuff for other people, or were you coming up with your own thing?
I was doing lots of things, but the big thing that I did was a PhD in French existential literature. And
wow. Okay. So completely using your degree right now, right?
So kids lit.
Every so often I have an existential crisis and I think this is perfect. So I can use that literature. But no, and my kids are not interested at all in French philosophers from the 1940s, which I think is a real shame. But it was...
Stay tuned for our next series.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's going to be so niche. But it really was that love of literature, that love of writing. And for me, it was this amazing opportunity just to study. I lived in France for a while to do research, to read and to write. And then after I moved to Canada, I had my first daughter, and my only daughter, actually, my first child. And it was that point that I started writing a bit more fiction. And that I also started looking around for a kid's Bible that I really, really loved. And at the time, couldn't find the one that was perfect for us. And so that also coincided with us starting Tiny Truths.
I mean, I think that's a lot of what parents do sometimes too. People that come on here and are creating resources, it's because I was looking for it for my kids and I couldn't find it. I mean, that's where this show came from. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about Tiny Truths and like what your resources are, what you have to offer for families. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first we made the illustrated Bible, which is 32 stories. Mm-hmm. And the next thing we made was a book called Wonder and Wisdom, which was little lessons from Psalms and Proverbs about how to live wisely and love well, because we wanted to try to bring in an element of sort of practical love, faith in action, love in action. Okay, so if this is your story and this is who God is and this is who you are, what does that mean for how you actually live your life? So we wanted to bring that practical element into it.
That's good.
And then we were able to make a devotional that's got about 70 devotionals called the Tiny Truths Little Lights devotional. And it's all about shining your light and sharing God's love, caring for the things God cares for, loving the things God loves. And again, I think it's an opportunity for parents and kids to start to discover all of the ways there are to really live out the way we're meant to live and to reflect God's love in the world the way we're meant to. So we made that devotional. And then they also made a little squishy cover board book version of our Bible that's pretty adorable.
That's cool.
And then we started making print-ready digital download resources, coloring pages, activity pages. We made a discovery journal for Wonder and Wisdom that's sort of, I think, meant to be done parent and kid together or teacher and kid together because, again, with everything, we try to give parents the words. We try to start the conversations. We try to give the adults sort of the tools they need to have these interesting conversations with their kids and to really have thoughtful, meaningful conversations with their kids about this stuff that are still fun and joyful and lots of opportunity to color and draw, but also to be thankful, to practice gratitude, all these different things. And then finally, the lifelong dream of making actual products with someone has just happened with CTA Kids, our new best friends. And we've got a couple things that we've made this Christmas. One of them is a tablecloth coloring sheet that's 6 feet by 2 feet that has basically the whole Christmas story and all the characters on it.
So fun.
And it's really fun and it's adorable and it's huge and it's great because it's a project everyone can do together. It's a thing that you can do while you wait to get started, but also it's a great community coloring project. It's great because everybody can sit around a table and participate. We've even seen really sweet opportunities with parents and CMLs and stuff, able to have get little conversations going because you get just distracted enough by coloring and you're just sitting there and you're able to kind of spark those things. And so we're very excited about that. And then we also made a Little Lights countdown to Christmas, which goes with our Little Lights devotional. And what it is it's a countdown 24 days from December 1st to December 24th. And each day is a little lantern, a little colorful lantern hung on a line with the numbers on it. And when you flip them over, each one has an activity on the back, a family activity. Sometimes it's creative. Sometimes it's in your community. Sometimes it's in your home. We sort of tried to have a good mix of all the ways in which we think that you can shine your light in the world and share God's love with your neighbors, with each other, in your family. There are intentional days of rest put in as well, which we think is very important.
Yeah, so important.
It's basically an activity and an advent calendar in sort of the Walmart chocolate behind a closed door sense.
Yeah.
More than like the 4 candles. But we think it's a perfect way as you count down and look forward to Jesus coming, that you will experience the joy in living the way we're meant to live in doing all of these things. The hope is that it gets families thinking and excited about how to really make a difference in the world that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important, like you said, to carry it outside of the holiday season because we can be real. The church is really generous. Everyone gets, they want to give, they want to share, they want to be a part of community and things like that. And then it's like January hits and it shuts back down and that doesn't make sense, So to give families this idea, like you can do this now around Christmas, you can also do this in February and March and November. Like you can continue this throughout the year and keep serving together and keep shining your light. So I think that's really important. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about Advent. We're not in it yet, but I know there's lots of families right now that are thinking, okay, I got to go to Walmart or Aldi or wherever and get my chocolate calendar to count down the season. Tell us a little bit about what Advent is. Maybe people haven't heard of that before. They're not quite sure. Can you explain that?
Well, I'm not a theologian or a pastor, but I'll do my best. And my understanding of Advent is that it is about waiting for something that has been promised. And what I think is so special about this season in the kind of the church year is that there's the anticipation and the excitement, but also this moment where you can slow down and you can stop. And although it can be busy and, we can find ourselves hurtling into the Christmas season, I think the beauty of it is this chance to pause. And traditionally, you do something every Sunday through Advent. There are 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas, and each week would have a different focus, whether it be love, joy, hope, or peace. But for us, I think very simply, it's a chance to slow down, to remind ourselves of what's important in the season to remember the Christmas story and to remember what our role is in it. And for us, like as Tiny Shoes specifically, it's thinking about how can we get out into the community and share our light, even while we share in the excitement of, what's coming at Christmas. And I know, for kids, obviously, there's a huge excitement about the gifts and, sort of really fun stuff like the decorating. And we love all of that. But it's just helping families to slow down, to carve out a tiny bit of space to remember what's really important and to be reflective.
Yeah. And I think having a devotional really would help a lot of people be able to do that. So I love this. I think that's so important. And I know there's lots of people that are interested. Where can they find out more about getting your devotionals and your resources?
Well, the best place is probably the CTA website. And lots of our resources all of our resources are also on our website, tinyshoesbible.com. The two pieces that we talked about, the Countdown to Christmas and the colouring table cover, those are on the CTA website.
And they also carry our books. So if you want to support a cool, small, independent business,
yes,
and not a bigger one, whichever one that might be, show them some love because CTA is awesome. The people behind it are amazing. They've become great friends and people we really admire, really respect, and are absolutely thrilled to be in partnership with. And so go to ctakids.com, check it out, and show them some love because they're amazing.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we should say that CTA Kids they're providing resources for the church. So they've got lots of things. So if you're a small group leader at your church or you're a kids pastor or you're just a really awesome volunteer like me, let your church know about this because it could be a great resource. Or if you're in a small group or you have a large family, like go in and look at their resources and see if there's something that would be interesting for you and your family, especially for this Christmas season, because I think that would be amazing. So I'm excited about Advent. We have a few weeks. We're a few weeks away, and so there's plenty of time for people to start thinking about that now and be prepared when it's time to get started and be really intentional this year. Because I think for me, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I should have done this. Like, it's like December 4th, and I'm like, I forgot. And so I just don't do anything. So even if you're listening to this later, you can still start anytime and celebrate the season. So that's really great that you guys have this. So thank you for doing that. Well, before I let you guys go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So do you guys have a memory you want to share with us?
I was trying to think of like one single memory that would be worth telling. And I just started feeling very nostalgic for my whole childhood because we were fortunate enough to grow up before screens and phones and all of it. And when I picture myself, I'm sure I'm picturing some Norman Rockwell version of what was reality, but I just picture myself sitting in front of the TV on Saturday morning, eating alphabets and watching cartoons and The Muppet Show, and Pee-wee's Playhouse, and just running around outside and having a wild imagination and drawing and creating art. And I think just having the space in my head and the freedom to just do all of those things. And then what's so funny is little has changed about how I live my life now. You might just find me eating alphabets, watching cartoons. I've spent my whole life just drawing cartoons and making animation and sort of living in that world and that state of mind. And so I think I'm just so grateful and thankful for the childhood I had and when I had it, because I just rode my big wheel around and played with my Star Wars figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
that's great.
I was fortunate.
Joe, what about you?
Oh, again, nothing specific, but I did have a pet goat who was a stray, and we rescued her and we bottle fed her. And I love animals to this day. So I think, having a pet goat is a favorite memory for sure.
I love that you're like, nothing special, just a pet goat. Not everybody says that, Joe.
It's the benefits of growing up in Nigeria.
Yeah, probably.
Pet goats.
Yeah.
Now, was this like your family went out one day to purchase a goat, or it just wandered into your house, or how did that happen?
No, we found her. That's the story. I mean, I was tiny. We found her and her name was Laraba, which meant Wednesday, because apparently we found her on a Wednesday and she didn't have a home. And so, we bottle fed her.
Okay. And did she live inside or was she an outside goat?
She was an outside goat. Yeah, they're quite naughty goats. I don't think she wasn't allowed inside.
Okay. Yeah, they'd probably eat everything, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing. I love that. Well, thank you guys again so much for being on the show. Again, thank you for what you're doing and keep it up because I think God is going to bless that for sure. So thank you for what you do. That was so fun. I loved hearing their stories and I love that she had a goat. How cool is that? It was so great meeting them today. I love when they were talking about how there's so much joy in doing work that has a greater purpose. And I love learning about Tiny Truths and their Bible-based books and resources for families that they want to be fun, but also help kids learn and understand who they are, who God is, and that kids, you have a place in this amazing story of God's kingdom. I just love that. I love that they've created this resource around families serving together and learning creative ways to let your light shine, especially for this upcoming Christmas season, so that you can learn to experience the joy that comes with living out your purpose and the way God intended us to be a light in the world. That's so cool. And then it can carry over into the rest of your year. It doesn't have to stop after the holiday season is over. I love when Jo was sharing with us about Advent. She said it's about waiting in anticipation as we look at the Christmas story. It's about waiting for Christ to come again and also focusing on resting and slowing down and carving out that time and space to remember what is really important and appreciate all the different ways that God has blessed your family. If you'd like to learn more about Tiny Truths and their resources and the amazing things they have for you as a family and also for your church, head over to tinytruthsbible.com. And if you're a church leader or you know of a church leader that's looking for great resources, visit ctainc.com and we'll have all those links in our show notes. You can check that out. All right, now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show. This is our family discussion segment called Let's Talk About It. So this is where we're going to ask a few fun questions and you guys can have some conversations right now. You can pause between each one or maybe you can listen to all three and pick out the one you like the best. Whatever you want to do, whatever works best for your family. So let's talk about it. Here's the first one. Advent is all about waiting and anticipation. What are some things your family looks forward to during the Christmas season, and how can you use that excitement to help you focus on Jesus? Number 2, Tiny Truths today reminded us that everyone has a place in God's big story. How do you think God wants to use you to share his love this season? And here's the last one. We talked about how Advent is about slowing down and being thankful. So what is one way your family can make space to rest, pray, or just enjoy time together and carry that habit into the new year? I like that one. Well, I hope these questions spark some great ideas and conversations with your family. Hey, if you enjoyed today's episode, would you just make a point to connect with us on social media? I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. And then you can share this episode with friends and family or share it on your page or whatever. Just a great way for other people to find out about the show. You can also head over to collidekidspodcast.com and catch up on past episodes. You know, it will be a really great thing to listen to on those long car trips together with your family. A podcast. You know what podcast would be great? This one. And there's lots of episodes to choose from. So be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app so you get all those episodes and they can just play back to back right after one another. If you've missed a few, you can go back and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full interview from today's show. You can also support the podcast by leaving a rating and a review or using some of our support links on our website, like the Amazon link, or if you want to click Buy Me a Coffee, that's a great way you can provide some financial support. And as always, I'm so grateful for your prayers over this ministry. That's such a huge way that you can support Collide Kids Podcast. Well, I know I don't want to say Merry Christmas yet. I won't, I promise. But I am excited about the Advent season, and I hope that you will be able to prepare to be intentional for this countdown to Christmas. I'm excited for you. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. And in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so much. Thanks for listening. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.